Hello everybody, it's Vince Sparks here. We're going to do a how-to video today on how to reload your own ammunition. Now, to make it simple, I'm just going to use a 45 ACP round, but essentially we're going to turn this is already fired. It's not going to focus because I've got my bright lights on here, but fired piece of brass into a, once again, ready to use round. Now, ammunition is pretty easy to find. You can get it at Walmart, Academy, anywhere you want. But I needed a hobby, so I started reloading. And when I started, I read the books. The books are very dull, and sometimes you just need a hands-on video. I relied on YouTube, so hopefully this will help you out as well. We're going to start off. We're going to use a die set, and let me get my camera turned here to show you what we're going to use here. If I can just get this focused in. Alright, here's some of the components that we'll be using. We've got our fired brass here. We've got the primers for, these are large pistol primers. You probably won't be able to read it through the camera. I've got my lights so bright in here. And then, here's just a single primer. And then here's the new projectile that we'll be putting in our brass, once we're ready. Now, as far as the equipment goes, I use the Hornady lock and load, single stage press, which takes a few more pulls of the handle, but the accuracy and just the firmness of that press I really like. Now, my die set are they're Lee from Lee Reloading Dies. It's actually a 4-die set. My fourth one's back here with an automatic powder measurer, which saves a lot of time. But just to go through the dies here real quick, we've got our full-length resizer and decapping die. The little pin that'll come down and knock the primer out. And then the next step would be to use the powder through expanding die that I've got. And like I said, I've already got the powder, poured into the container. It's already in the die set up. You'll see that thing in operation, or see it in action here in just a couple minutes. The next die would be the bullet seating die, and you can use this to do a slight crimp, and the fourth die that I'm going to show you is not necessary, but the Lee dies come with a factory crimp die, which will reshape the entire cartridge into factory sized, so it'll work in pretty much any gun of the right caliber that you want. I don't use it most of the time, as I'm pretty set with what I like to use. I know what I need to set for my particular gun. But anyways, we'll get started here. First, you'll put your resizing die and depriming die in. Put your shell right there. Let's see if I can't get this camera just a little closer. The zoom on it's not great. But anyways, as this comes up, just push that down. Pull it back out. Now, once again, it's probably not going to focus very well, but where there used to be a primer in there, now it's just an empty pocket. And sometimes, people will like to clean the little junk out of there. It's not necessary. For this, I'm not going to do it just because it's time consuming to do all that. So, and when I know I'm not going to clean the primer pockets, I can do all this in one stage. I'll put the shell back in there, and I'll take my primer with the explosive side up there. It's bright yellow. Probably, once again, you won't be able to focus on it very well. But I've got a little primer seating cup right here, and on the downstroke of the vise, you just push it in, apply a little bit of pressure. It'll stop where it needs, and you should get a nice flush primer seat there. Now, this case is ready to move on to the next round. So we don't need our resizing die anymore. Just to clear up the vise a little, we don't need the primer seater or the little spent primer catcher. So our shell back into the shell holder. For this, instead we're going to use our powder through expanding die. And let me see if I can point this up just a little more so you can see what will happen is as this shell comes through, it'll expand the case mouth so you can put the projectile in a little easier, and a mechanical linkage here will slide this out and drop the powder, the pre-measured amount of powder into the case. Now, because I've reloaded probably 1,000 of these in the last month or so, I've got it preset right where I need it. But anyways, as you come up on the press, the shell goes in. This little black deal slid right out. Drop the amount of powder in there. Then you just bring it right back down. And this is going to be really hard to see, but you'll see there's a little bit of just enough powder in there. I think I've got this actually measured out at around 6.1 grains. And you know, you always want to rely on your documentation that'll come, you know, in your reloading manuals or with the powder or with the dyes, whichever you choose. They're all pretty reliable. But anyways, that case is primed and charged. So now we'll go to our bullet seating die. And just twist and lock that in there. You take your projectile, set it right there, and then as you come down, that seats it in there. Now, because the way I have my dies set up, this round right now as it is ready to fire, as long as there's a few dimensions we need to check. And I've locked my calipers down at 32.39 millimeters. And as long as I'm within that tolerance right there, this will cycle through any semi-automatic 45 auto handgun. Maybe a rifle, I'm sure it would. I don't have any rifles like that. But like I said, with the way my dies are set, this bullet's ready to go. But because Lee was so nice and gave us a 4th die for a factory crimp, we'll go ahead and put that die in there. Once again, pull the handle. It has a little bit of resistance as it kind of shapes the whole thing, puts a little tighter of a crimp on it, but that's reloading in a nutshell. Nice, simple process. Anybody could do it. It costs a little bit of money to get all the equipment, but it's a great pastime. If anybody's interested in ever starting to reload, I hope you'll find this video useful. All right, thank you very much.